We love our AAF. Here we are.
Take aim. Only team to have a clinched playoff spot.
San Antonio next week.
Who's the only team to beat the Apollos?
Arizona.
Arizona. I was at the Arizona game. We'll get into that a little later. But yeah, Orlando looking great, like they have all season. Most polished offense once again.
Almost I don't want to say every game, but almost every game they play, they've had a pick six. It's nuts. Their defense, like all around, they're playing really well. Their quarterback has 11 touchdowns, 1 interception. Orlando looks like the clear-cut champion right now. I would not have said that weeks ago, but after they just whipped on the Iron and beat them by 17, granted Arizona won, sure.
Iron lost to Memphis this week.
Iron have fallen. I think that Orlando loss threw them off their pedestal, and they kind of came crashing down to earth. Orlando's the best team. They're the champion. Might as well just give them the title right now.
Well, making the postseason.
Mic drop.
Comparing Birmingham to another ground and pound offense we know and love, it does sound like that kind of offense that is going to get you to a slightly above average season and a postseason berth, like maybe 7-5 or 8-4 in college football and making the Outback Bowl or something.
Good Lord.
And
Brandon?
winning the Outback
Keeps
Bowl.
coming at him. Against Mississippi State, right?
Yeah, they beat Mississippi State this
Hey,
year.
Iowa State lost their bowl game, and they didn't get off the bus in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Nebraska didn't even
They've
come
had
close.
a great year athletically, but disappointing ends, and I'm expecting more. I'll always be honest about my team.
4-8. I mean,
Iowa was the better football and basketball team this year. You better isolate that because you might never hear it again.
yeah. Good thing it's recorded. I'll get that to you, Brandon. I'll send you the link.
And the Hawkeyes will only get better.
I don't know about that.
They have the same team. Who is Iowa State returning? Aren't all their guys seniors?
Yeah, they're all gone. David Montgomery.
So they're just
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy.
No, I'm talking about basketball.
Oh,
I'm not talking about football.
no, basketball. Wigginton is definitely not going.
Oh, right, Wigginton. He's a sophomore.
He's a sophomore. Horton Tucker's a freshman. Halliburton is a freshman. Michael Jacobson is a junior. George Condit is a freshman. Iowa State's going to be back. They're only losing. No, they're only
I've never
losing.
watched Iowa State until the until the tournament. I didn't never watch them.
We're stuck in the echo chamber of our own teams, and that's okay to admit.
Not me. My team's terrible. Tim Miles got fired, by the way.
We will get to that.
Fred Hoiberg's the favorite.
Hoiberg,
We
baby.
will get to that.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
He can be my mayor. Your body is. I'll sing John Mayer all night. I don't care.
That was a great poll.
Thank
for the
you.
mayor. Back to the AAF.
That's what happens when
Pull
you
it back.
date someone that went to Iowa State for 5 years.
Pull it
You
back.
pick up on this stuff.
I did this. I started this by comparing Birmingham to Iowa football.
You did. You did.
My fault this time. I watched Memphis. Johnny Manziel, undefeated, overtime. Johnny football. It looked like Texas A&M all over again.
I don't know, though. That other guy played really well. Number 12. I can't remember his name. It's slipping my mind. The other quarterback that played for Memphis. No, you only watched.
Mettenberger.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mettenberger actually played well. I think he had the game-winning touchdown, didn't he? Or was it Johnny?
It was Johnny.
It was Johnny.
I'm fairly confident. But the problem with the AAF is the offensive player of the week was Wolford, the Arizona quarterback. He had 212 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That is your offensive player of the week in your whole league. Something needs to be done for the cohesion of these offenses.
He should have been the West.
There's only one good offense that knows what they're doing and plays as a team, and that's Orlando.
Yeah.
I don't really think Birmingham has.
Just wanted to hear you say it.
in football is definitely, it takes time. Offense in football, it takes time.
Definitely.
Because there's a lot of moving parts and everyone has to do their
It's the
job.
first year of all
Yep.
these coaching staff.
Well,
And all these players playing together.
I think
Right.
I think the thing that works.
it will get better.
I think the thing that works for Orlando is that they have an offensive minded coach, and if I'm Mike Riley's San Antonio's coach, or is he San Diego's?
San Antonio, I think.
And San Antonio, I think, is doing well because Mike Riley is more offensive minded. I think this league is more of an offensive league. Yes, they have big hits and there's a lot more contact in the NFL, but I think this is a more offensive league than people
you
realize.
need offense to win the game.
Yeah, defense wins championships, offense wins the games. This is the old cliche. But from what I saw from Johnny Manziel,
He's just trying
He
to
didn't
get back
look-
to the NFL.
he didn't look bad. But I think he's on the getting into this league, and then now that he's had some time with it, they're obviously showing him off. The AAF was like, great, we'll bring in Johnny Football. That'll get us ratings. That's
absolutely.
easily, they were opportunistic. But I think this is his NFL apology tour to be like, look, I went and played in Canada, and I'm really remorseful for the bad things I did and the stupidity. And like, yeah, it's totally the please let me back
Humility.
apology
Yeah, it's-
tour.
It's a humble and hungry move.
What can Johnny Manziel do to make an NFL roster?
Nothing. I don't think he's an
I
NFL
don't
quarterback.
Not
That's what I'm
this
going to say. No, I mean ever. I mean, I just don't see Johnny Manziel as being a guy who can play in the NFL.
Memphis goes to the playoffs next year. Johnny Manziel is league MVP.
Wow.
I see him. No, I'm not saying that's going to happen.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying if that scenario plays out even somewhat that way, if he takes Memphis to the playoffs next year, I think he would be looked at for a backup somewhere. I mean, come on, there's 32 NFL teams.
He's a backup, yeah. I don't see him as a starter.
Yeah, that's kind of. I guess I just don't see
He
him
doesn't
as
have to start.
okay, but
But yeah, I could see him on a squad if that's the case, sure.
maybe. But he just that style of football at quarterback position just it doesn't work in the NFL.
But
It
here's-
doesn't work.
But here's the thing, though. Is there going to be an AAF next year for Johnny Manziel to be the quarterback? We don't talk about that.
Don't look at the men behind the curtain sweating and trying to count money.
Don't jinx us.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I feel like that's just going to be a thing with these, even when the XFL comes back, even though the XFL has Vince McMahon funding it and has put aside money to fund it. I imagine there's going to be rumors about the XFL folding right away because when these smaller football leagues come around, everybody has these ideas that they're going to fold because we were talking about this before we went on the air. We were talking about how the NFL really doesn't need a farm league. It doesn't need a G League because you have to spend at least 3 years in the college level. So that is your farm league. And I don't know. I think the AAF can survive, but it's going to be it's a wait and see type thing.
Scout teams were the farm league.
Right.
Yeah,
and
the
and
scout
that
teams don't have. They only have 10 players.
And that's what
they're
they're
not really.
and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to
I
get
don't know.
they're trying to get like practice squad guys
Right. No,
from
and
the
this
NFL.
is why it's better.
They're trying
It's the AAF is better than a practice squad, but the AAF is not better than college football, in my opinion.
That's from a TV or fan standpoint, not
not talent
not a talent of the players standpoint, because the players in the AAF, they were
former
all college
NFL
starters,
players.
you know,
Yeah.
they're
Well-
better than college teams.
Better than some of the college teams. Probably not all of them though.
Alabama could beat Salt Lake.
Clemson and Alabama.
Clemson could go down to Georgia and put the people's elbow
On Atlanta.
On Atlanta.
That's what I'm
Probably.
saying. Like those college teams, they are NFL like development.
Factories.
Yes, like they have 20 guys on their team that are NFL players each year.
Well, yeah, especially if you're Alabama or Clemson.
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah.
like you can just get your guys from Alabama and Clemson, and then you get your skill guys. The West Coast produce a lot of skill guys.
Mhm.
You're gonna see that's just how it is. Like the college game still has the athletes that are gonna be in the draft. They're not gonna get
Oh,
like-
absolutely. Yeah, it's like G League and college basketball.
yeah.
Which one did Zion pick?
You're never gonna pick the G League. The G League probably produces like 10 to 20 players in the NBA a year, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably more because of injuries than actual, out of necessity more than they're better.
Yep. But looking at the West Division here, San Antonio is kind of taking control. But Arizona won a very important game against against San Diego that I was at because they were both 3-3, and this is the tiebreaker to maybe make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the fans did not know that.
I was going to say, I turned that game on and I saw that there was just no one there.
Okay, let me spin it for you though, because
There wasn't anyone there.
the amount of people that were there, it's a very large stadium. The amount of people that were there would have filled up Drake Stadium. would have filled up the Unidome.
Where were they at? On the top deck?
No, there.
Where? No, seriously. I'm being serious.
Dude,
When
we
I
can
watch
look it up.
when I look through the camera, I see 100 people in the stands.
Oh my gosh. Okay, no.
That's what I see. The stands were empty.
At least 16,000 people there. There's
Okay, but on the TV screen, I see no one.
I don't know if from the TV they are showing the more shaded end zone, which was much more full than the other side.
Oh yeah, probably.
And which side of the stands, because one of them along the field was much more full than the other as well. There were at least 15,000 to 16,000 people there. It would have filled up any place in Iowa, and we would care more. The fans, I got seats for $13 a piece for 2 tickets, 8 rows up, like in the corner of the end zone. It was amazing seats because they can't fill up a stadium this large. But they could hear.
I think part of that is because of, to be honest, I don't think that they did enough preseason to show off that the AAF is a thing, that it's happening. Guys like us know because we're not just because of the show, but we're like into sports and
We want more football.
We want more football and we care about this stuff, so we would know that. I don't think there was enough done for a lot of these teams for people to be like, oh yeah, we have a pro football team in the spring, And I think that they still feel the effects of that to this day.
The biggest cheer of the crowd was when they corrected the scoreboard because they gave Arizona's second touchdown to San Diego on the scoreboard. And the only chant that went stadium-wide all game was, "Fix the scoreboard." And then everybody cheered. Besides that, everybody got into it when a guy from the Fleet scored a touchdown, but it looked like he threw the ball out of his hand right before he crossed the plane. Like, was it Deshaun Jackson? Did that?
Yeah, he did that.
Yeah, just being a knucklehead. And in my head, I'm thinking, whether you got this touchdown or not, this is why you're in the AAF. Because the fact that you even did that.
What are you? Yeah, I never understand
Two
why
steps,
you would
hand
do
it
that.
to the official, throw it into the crowd. There are so many options. Birth it like a baby or sleep on it like a pillow.
Spike the ball like Gronk.
It's like I never understood that. I never understand that. Why would you ever drop the ball before you have physically crossed the line?
Does that look cooler?
No.
No, it doesn't.
You look like a knucklehead.
You look like an idiot. Exactly.
Yeah.
But in conclusion of going to an AAF game, it was hot. The stadium's a little too big, but it's one of the largest metro areas in America, and it makes sense why they picked it because they can start in February. It would have filled up any place in Iowa, and we would definitely have a more into the game fan base like you see in San Antonio.
I saw a thing about on Reddit or something about the AAF, and somebody made a good point. They're like, even if the AAF were to fold in a few years and not exist anymore, at the very least, teams like San Antonio and Orlando or something like that, San Diego even, I think they should be absorbed into an expansion of the NFL because these cities have shown that they can support teams like that. I think San Antonio is very deserving of a pro football team now. I think Orlando is very deserving of a football team because they actually they're up there with number-wise with Birmingham or San Antonio. Birmingham, I don't know about like if an NFL team should go there. And it doesn't exactly have to be the San Antonio Commanders. It could be San Antonio, whatever you want it to be. I just think some of these, at the very least, the AAF has shown that some of these cities could support a pro football team and probably deserve one.
I hear what you're saying with the comparison of like the NBA, ABA, where they bought out that league with the obligation that they take 4 teams from that league.
Yeah, something like that.
So
yeah.
that's what happened, and so it's like the Nets, the Pacers, I think, and 2 other teams were originally ABA teams and were absorbed into the NBA. But what I see here is you got to remember that the NFL is 30 old white guys and Shad Khan in a room. That's really what it is. There is one. Well, no, the Saints owner died, so 28 old white guys, 2 old white ladies, because that's is it the Giants and
Yeah.
the Saints,
Yeah.
and then Shad Khan. And so
Who got it from his dad.
Yeah, I think that the NFL is going to want to go more global with their next expansion because they could have reached out to
I don't see the NFL expanding more as relocating. I don't see why do you need 34 teams?
But that's why Jacksonville's going to go to England.
I see the 30
it's gonna
the
be something
30
like
why
that.
do you need 34 or 36 teams? You already have 32 and you're already the best league, probably the best league in pro sports.
You can't overexpand.
Yeah,
it
you
can
can't
kill you more
exactly.
than anything.
Yeah, and every other league only has 30 teams.
Right. The NFL, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I agree with you, Brandon, about how it will be more relocation and expansion, and that's why I'm kind of iffy on what you're saying about the AAF.
Well, then move Houston to San Antonio.
That I see someone moving
Move Jacksonville to Orlando.
But my thing is,
Houston to Mexico City.
what does Orlando offer that Tampa Bay doesn't? Aren't they right next to each other?
They're about an hour apart.
Like,
yeah.
like
Raymond
what's
James
the
Stadium, or
what's the
whatever it's called
difference?
now.
I-4 battle war. I-4.
So doesn't that make Tampa better?
Bigger stadium.
Oh yeah.
Bigger. That's what I mean.
And less of a destination city, more of a people live here city.
Yeah, and that.
I think going off of nothing. Jake's our Florida guy here.
Well, I never even lived in Florida, which is so funny. My uncle lives there. But no, I understand what you're saying because with Tampa, they've had the Buccaneers since the 70s. They've had that established. They have the Tampa Bay Lightning, which just won the President's Trophy, which means they had the best overall record in the league. What up? 5 games less in the season, and they could easily have the most wins in NHL history. What up? And then they'll probably lose if they do that.
First round.
Yeah.
Didn't they do that last year?
No. The last 3 times they've been in the playoffs, they have lost. They lost in the Stanley Cup.
They did make the finals one year. I remember
They
that.
lost the Stanley Cup in 6 to the Blackhawks, and then the next 2 times that they went, they lost in the conference championship in Game 7. I'm sorry, I'll beat myself out, but it's a Game 7 and it upsets me. Anyway, point is, Tampa makes more sense than Orlando.
Well, Jake, I hear you saying that you're kind of bringing your own franchise down because you're comparing Tampa.
That's why you knocked on the wood.
You're comparing the Buccaneers as more of like a Buffalo or Green Bay, where this community has a grip that will never let go of this team until there is no one left in the town. That is really why. I mean,
well, yeah. Honestly, I think
there's one that will never relocate, and that's the Green Bay Packers because they're owned by the community.
if you look at Tampa, I mean, the Rays aren't even that big there. I mean, they're technically in St. Petersburg. And because it's like Tampa and St. Petersburg, they're both on the bay. It's like Oakland and the 49ers. Yeah. And you look at it that way. And then in reality, I think the biggest turnout fan-wise is the Lightning because the Lightning is the best professional sports team they have. So, yeah, Orlando probably didn't need to be there. And they're so an hour apart. At least with Miami, Miami's down in the bottom of the state. And it's in
Miami,
a separate.
baby.
It's Miami.
And it's in a separate conference. It's in the AFC, not the NFC. It's a totally different thing. We were talking about this. If there were to be an AAF team in Des Moines, I don't think it would. It might have to put it in. You and I were talking about the UNI Dome at some point.
Well, that was Brandon's.
His original pitch,
yeah,
right?
that
Yeah,
was his good pitch.
because you almost have to because of snow.
That's kind of. The dome makes a lot of sense.
Well, they love domes, and starting in February, the dome makes sense, and so it really, maybe Fargo will get one.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Or
I don't think it's big enough.
how big is the dome in Wichita? I could get something.
You really
Kansas
think
far enough north to where it's the same weather?
They
though?
do want to grab the Midwest, so you
they
got
would
you
not-
got a dome in.
But
in
like,
not
Wichita's basically Oklahoma. That's
Yeah.
that's how I
If
see
you're
it.
gonna do that, go
Wichita
to-
is on the very south side of Kansas.
As someone who just drove through all of Kansas twice in a week,
You
let
don't
me
want
tell
to.
you, there is Wichita to Topeka and all of
Lawrence.
Kansas City, but once you get Wichita is right at the level where it turns into the dust. Like there's nothing here but cow
Kansas is the
pastures.
worst.
I would say that Kansas is worse than Nebraska to drive through. And every once in a while, once you get to that point in South Kansas, there's those oil rigs randomly, just those little ones in fields, and you're like,
Dude,
well,
Wichita Oilers. There you go.
oh, we tried that. Didn't even stick.
Houston Oilers.
All right.